Wake up, Theo. Rise and shine, my son.
Liberation Theology by Clockwork Janz. Act 1. Speak of the Devil. Theo Logan, Martinsville's only ordained minister, arose with a jerk, drenched in frigid sweat, and an increasing amount of pee, which trickled from his leg. Theo ran to his window, searching out a form for his otherwise disembodied voice.
"You speak, my lord?"
Theo waited with no abatement, and waited, and meditated, and finally, silently, slowly abated, until the bodiless baritone once again stated,
Wake up, Theo. My son, there is work to be done.
"What is it, my God? I, your humble servant, am awake. What will you have me do?"
Again, in silence, Theo Logan waited patiently. God's audible voice was a sound new to his ears, and it was worth being patient for. Theo had, of course, felt God all of his life. He had seen God in tea leaves, heard echoes of the Lord's whispers in the laughter of children, and smelled what he hoped was the Lord's work at the Cornhuskers Lounge. But never had he actually heard God speak. And now, awake to all vibrations, in tune to the humming of the room, he waited in awe for another godly syllable. With hands raised high in the cool summer air, he leaned out of his decadently ornate bedroom window, which sat on the third story of an exceptionally large estate in one of the poorest counties in Indiana, to be closer to his God, who sat on a throne of clouds, in heaven of course, and was no doubt watching him with love and adoration. In fact, Theo had purchased this 5-bedroom, 6-bath, 3-story McMansion for the sole purpose of being closer to his Lord. It sat atop the highest hill in Martinsville, and so Theo remained as the closest being that he knew to heaven. Theo wanted to be prepared for when the rapture hits. He had seen it advertised as coming soon for the past 3 summers. So Theo wanted to make sure to be first into heaven to get a good seat. Hours passed as Theo stood in anticipation of another silky syllable from his Lord's lips. His eyebrows itched, his legs quivered, and his arms began to sweat profusely, running down his back, trickling off of his buttocks and onto the ground, mingling with the startled pee that he had made earlier that morning and the bored pee he had just made 10 minutes ago. His pet Sphinx, Cleopatra, eagerly lapped up the salty snack as she purred. Cleopatra was one of those new designer Sphinx that the Monroe County ASPCA had partnered with the Indiana University Cloning Department to engineer to make adopting pets fun again. Her front half looked like an Egyptian queen, and reportedly had some DNA from the original Cleopatra. And her back half looked like an orange and white striped cat that reportedly was rescued from the dumpster of a local pizza parlor. Cleopatra purred with glee. She so enjoyed seeing Theo suffer. Finally, nearly 4 hours after waking to what he had hoped was the sound of his final reward, Theo turned in frustration from his window, trudging through his fluids, nudging aside his beloved cat Thing, entered the bathroom and flung open his medicine cabinet to reach for his bottle of Slap Happy.
"Live a smile, you have to pay your money back. Slap Happy's by Glasgow."
And as his fingers grasped the bottle, the Lord's smooth voice again spoketh.
You must build me a home, Theo dear. A beautiful home for all to worship. Right away, of the finest hardwood 4x8x2 planks, and 1,000 solid gold apodosis. 3 miles square in breadth. Hurry, time is running out.
"Yes, my lord. Thy will be done. I will build you the finest of gold and redwood homes." "Cleo, did you hear that? The Lord has finally spoken to me. After devoting my life to his servitude, I am finally in. He lives and speaks."
I didn't hear anything.
you sure?
Well, yeah, I just heard him. At least I think so. Do you think the Lord would want to speak to me?
Ooh, sure, Theo. Why wouldn't the Lord speak to you? You are a good and humble man. You feed me 3 times a day. You scratch me only exactly when I want it, and not a second longer. And you give me privacy when I lick myself. You are far from perfect, but you're the best man that I know, Theo.
Theo pondered on this, unsure about his Sphinx ability to judge his moral character. But though he had never labored a day in his life, he felt very confident in his ability to build his Lord a new home. Act 2. False Prophets. Theo continued pondering while wandering himself down the street toward Miss Felicia's hardware and popcorn emporium. Miss Felicia's husband and Theo's best friend, Myron Felicia, would be running the shop today and could certainly help him with all of his hardware needs. And maybe Myron could even give some insight on this business of hearing the voice of the one true God and whatnot. Theo entered the shop, poured himself a small styrofoam cup of free and stale coffee, added 1 sugar cube, and some Spider's Milk non-dairy creamer. As usual, no bags of popcorn were left at the popcorn machine, so Theo proceeded to stuff his pockets with fistful after fistful of greasy, corny delightfulness. Theo spied Myron staring peacefully at some tack hammers.
Myron, my good friend, how are you doing?
Well, I guess I am okay. Yes, just okay.
Wonderful, just wonderful. I am doing wonderful as well. Thank you for asking, my good friend.
Theo shouted a bit more aggressively than he had intended, but was a bit put off by Myron's lackluster reception, given that Theo had just moments before spoken to our Creator, who had given unto him a whole new master plan.
You are very welcome, Theo. I'm feeling much less socially anxious thanks to this brainworm.
Brainworm, Spike Ice Scott.
Last week, I just found myself worrying about what might make me worry tomorrow, and what people might think if they think I might be worrying. So this whole brainworm thing just seems so much easier. I feel okay now, but the missus is getting a little annoyed with all the drooling and chewing sounds keeping her awake at night.
Wow. Okay. Wow. That doesn't really sound good at all, man. That thing works by eating your brain?
Well, the packaging on the brainworm says that this little guy massages my brain with his fangs, which are full of a pleasant euphoric neurotoxin. It doesn't eat that much, and when it does eat, it secretes a wonderfully minty aroma. The missus does enjoy my minty freshness as of late.
How is Miss Felicia? I haven't seen her in the shop lately.
Lately, she has been at home running our marketing campaign. She's just great at those collective consciousness media apps. I don't really get them, but she's great at all the new tech stuff,
Myron said, as a green, minty cloud poofed from his earhole.
Wonderful. Send her my best, would you? Also, could you please point me to your finest cedar planks and your solid gold carpenter screws?
Aisle 17. If you've hit the hose, you've gone too far.
Fantastic. And did I mention that I heard the voice of God this morning and am now completing his mission? That he gave me today my purpose on this earth?
Myron stated blankly, as he now stated everything blankly.
That could not have been God. God is most certainly a woman. She made all of us in her image, and men can't make people, only women can. So God must be a woman.
Yup, that's exactly what someone who has a brainworm would say,
Theo thought to himself. But was he right? What if Theo bought all of this high-end construction material because of a hallucination? What would Cleopatra think?
I don't think so, Myron. This sounded a lot like God to me.
Well, why not ask Randy? She is a mother herself, has created people, therefore must be closer to God than you or I. Another green poof of minty fresh methane gas escaped from Myron's left nostril. Act 3. A New Messiah. Theo ran from the hardware store frantically, headed towards the GM Moore Foods, the only grocery within 100 miles of the food desert surrounding Martinsville, where Randy had been working since being purchased by William Wells and quitting stripping at the Cornhuskers Lounge 3 years ago. Randy was the head butcher at GM Moore Foods, an occupation that years of handling so much raw meat as a certified stripper had trained her well for. Could she really be more godly than he? He with the tallest house? He with a theology degree? That folks in town pay for him to bless them with the Lord's almighty goodness. With the grocery in sight, Theo again heard the deep voice in his innermost mind.
Theo Logan, time is running out.
Not now, maybe, God.
Theo said breathlessly.
I have to get another opinion on your validity, and maybe a brainworm while I'm there.
Theo ran past the produce, shoved through the cereal, beelining toward the butcher in the back of the store. Behind the counter, Randy stood, proudly swinging her hips and cleaver to the grocery's white bread soundtrack.
Afternoon, Theo. What can I carve up for you today? Afternoon, Randy. Hey, I got a question. Did you come by to wish me an early happy creation day?
Randy asked playfully, enjoying interrupting the man who had wedlocked her into a union with the man that she so resented. Every day, she imagined Wells' face on the giant cricket carcasses that she so delicately butchered, savoring the instant when the knife goes in and the thorax relaxes.
Oh, sure, Randy. Early happy Creation Day to you.
Creation Day was the anniversary of the first day that your lungs drew breath. The word birth had recently fallen out of favor, as it was seen in modern neoliberal circles as being insensitive to cloned citizens, who were never technically born. As such, conservative groups combat this sensitivity with the Bring Birth Back movement.
Thank you, Theo. You are so sweet. Can I get you any cricket ribs today? They're on special. No thanks, Randy. I got a serious question. What does God sound like, Randy? Oh, Theo. Oh.
She paused and looked through him, through to the inner heart of his intentions, as only a mother can.
I'm not sure what she sounds like, but I think I smelled her work at the Cornhuskers Lounge. It was like a pheromone that I sensed with my lizard brain. It kept me going when I thought I couldn't continue. She speaks to me in sensation. God doesn't speak in our tongues, Theo. No, Randy. God is talking to me. God is speaking to me. I might be his next prophet, our new Messiah.
Randy sniffed deeply.
No, I don't smell her scent on you at all. And my mom nose is twice as strong as a bloodhound. But are you hearing voices? Yes, just one deep booming voice in the back of my head. It's definitely God, and he is telling me to buy all of the premium construction material in town to build for him and for all of us a great house to worship him. No, God certainly doesn't speak English, and I doubt she would speak to you. You skim off the communion plate every day to buy yourself mansions and strippers. You are basically horrible, Theo.
Theo wanted to cry. He thought she liked him. She was always so nice to him. He was just sure she was always one quick glance away from whisking him to the meat locker and taking off her top. But apparently not. Maybe Theo was kind of horrible. Randy observed this inner turmoil going on inside of Theo, noticing a little tear well up in his smug face. She bit her lip and decided to help him solve his dilemma.
Theo, did you let your Glasgow Prime free trial set a subscription end? You know, it switches to ad-based freemium after 30 days.
That's right, folks. Glasgow now offers a convenient dual citizenship and subscription to Glasgow Prime. Enjoy all of your favorite perks of being a U.S. citizen, including the right to vote and the right to use a public library, while also enjoying all of Glasgow Prime's amazing and life-changing services, including but not limited to free shipping on a bunch of useless shit, movies played on any surface of your home, and even our new patented immersive augmented reality experience. That's right. Tired of being bored in your normal mundane existence? Try augmenting your reality to be more vibrant and interesting. Bored with your drab and lifeless lawn? Well, augment it into being the Amazon jungle, right in front of your doorstep. Sick of staring at your ugly, boring coworkers? Well, augment them, and now you work in a modeling agency. The possibilities are endless. Order now using our collective consciousness. Try now for 30 days. After which point you can pay $99.95 monthly, or we will beam ads directly into your mind. Time is running out. Your citizenship and subscription to Glasgow Prime are waiting for you.
All right. Yes, Randy, thank you. I was enjoying augmenting my dull and drab reality.
Theo had actively been augmenting his reality, and Randy, while they were speaking. Her breasts were growing slightly larger after every passing second, and she laughed after everything he said in his augmented version of reality.
So, these are ads? This is not the voice of our Lord and Savior? No, Theo. I think they're just targeted ads. In fact, it sounds like Miss Felicia may have been targeting you directly with ads to buy all of her hardware supplies.
Theo felt the hairs on the back of his neck stand on end. His stomach churned as he realized how foolish he had been. How easily he had been manipulated by his desire to be special and his fear of being left behind.
Shit. I'm done with this augmented reality business.
Randy,
can you cut out this hardware chip, please? The one that's on the back of my neck that was installed for this augmented reality mess? Sure.
Gleeful at the opportunity to take a knife to Theo, she promptly sliced off a 2-inch chunk from the back of his scalp, where the chip had been surgically implanted, nicking just a little bone and likely more hair than was really needed to be nicked off.
Oh, wow, that stings.
Theo yelled as blood poured slowly from the back of his head. Randy handed him a towel, and he applied pressure so he would not bleed out and die in the supermarket. He had heard that last week a patron had died in front of Randy's counter, and the patron had quickly become last week's manager special. Randy wasted no time in securing the delicious carcass. Theo, writhing in pain, slowly had his vision come back, and he saw plainly for a long time the unpleasant state of the world. Through no filter, no extra lively colors, Theo could see just how dark and strange Martinsville had become. But the voice was gone. All the voices were gone. All the humming was gone. And Theo felt himself smile despite his depressive environment, knowing that now with eyes open, he could begin to do the work that he had been called to do.
I am liberated.